Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Wrestle Plug YouTube channel. I am the most unprofessional wrestler you'll ever meet, Aeron Nix, graphic designer, videographer for many independent companies now, which is great news for me because I can afford to make more content, which means I get to lambast Carl Wilkinson and Astro Pizarro for still not turning up for work. I mean, one of them lives in Canada and has all the diabetes, and the other lives half an hour away from my co-host. The best co-host I've ever had since Steve New, it has to be said. Fuck those other two. The Gomer Choke Goat Gaming. We're still working out really what to call you, sir, but Gomer is back in the house. Welcome back for your second edition of Wrestle Plug, sir.
Thanks for having me. Good to be here as always. It's much better than what we just watched, but you know, that is what we go for.
I think we are more entertaining than WWE Raw. I believe it to be true. I know it's not a stretch. It's like saying, this pasta that I cooked tastes better than the steaming shit that I found in a raccoon's asshole. So, you know, but it is what it is. I'm not referencing the fact that me and Gomer are similar to a raccoon's asshole. I mean, I'm sure there are many AEW fans who would probably agree with that statement. WWE Raw and the WWE Draft, as you might have noticed from the title, is what we are going to continue to cover. Now, obviously, with Raw being 3 hours, we knew we were going to get a lot more draft picks. We are recording this during Raw Talk, so we will update you if there are any cheeky little picks at the end, just like they did last week with Talking Smack. So let's get right into it. Becky Lynch opens the show. We pretty much knew she was going to be shifting over to the red brand, obviously.
Totally.
It's a classic case of champion drafted first night, champion going the other way the next night. Obvious stuff. She comes out, ruins the first draft pick, cuts a, in my opinion, terrible promo. I think she is grossly overrated. I think she's in a horrible angle at the moment. Because she came back, she, kind of ruined the immediate kind of trajectory of Bianca Belair, who is a big face, announces herself as a heel, then decides to behave as a face in front of the audience and also on commentary. And that winds me up. It's lazy. She's not a very good promo anyway. I'm sorry, she's just not. I think Charlotte Flair is infinitely a better promo. She garners more heat. Bianca Belair is more likable when she talks. I think Sasha Banks is just so much more commanding of a mic. But there's so many women, actually, I think, just completely run Becky Lynch over. She's definitely got something. She's definitely a star, but I think she's really, really poor, really low rent at times. This, of course, leads to a bit of a schmoz with the women. Charlotte Flair comes down, berates her. Then Bianca Belair comes out and goes, "You don't go here," with this horrible voice. Like, it just shrills, and I don't understand. It's like a Vicky Guerrero moment with "excuse me." And then it sets up the match later on in the evening. And then we get our draft picks. Now, before we get into our draft picks, your thoughts on the women opening and closing the show and how you feel like they're doing. And do you think that Becky Lynch is a certifiable upgrade in terms of women's wrestling for Raw?
The Becky Lynch that we have now, no. The Becky Lynch that we had a few years ago, before she faced Rousey, before everything else, when the man was actually a name, a marquee, a growing point. Oh yeah, back then she was fantastic. She actually drew in what is supposed to be her now. She left. I understand, she had her kid and everything. That changes a lot of things. Attitude's going to change, but when you're getting back, you need to get back into that character and really just run it to the moon. And none of it. She just comes out, sounds loud, obnoxious. Coming out as a face was really weird. And then, of course, seeing what we did later on in the show, which we'll get into later on, that was completely different too. Like, all right, cool. You went in the back and changed some makeup and now you're a completely different person. So cool. The opening group session with them, not impressive. A lot of times where Bianca Belair just sounded like she was even confused on the mic. Charlotte Flair sounds natural. She sounds like she just wants to go out there and talk from the heart. Even if something is there in lines for her, everything is coming out of her mouth smoothly. Great. Love her part of it. Everything else very, very, very contrived, and just nothing came out smooth.
Yeah, like the word you've used there is contrived. It felt very scripted, very
Mhm.
kind of like, read this, cue cards, very inorganic, very unbelievable, and not unbelievable in a good way either. Disappointing, to be honest. I expect better from these women. For instance, we rib Astrid, obviously, like we did at the beginning of the show. I saw her tweeting overwhelmingly positive things. I don't want to single her out, but I think a lot of people are willing to just forgive it because it's women and just make an assumption that it's good. And I don't think that's necessarily the case. And this is the kind of thing where you can bet your bottom dollar people watching a different product will chastise the living shit out of this. And they will say, oh, fuck me, this isn't as good as the old stuff. If you grabbed an Attitude Era fan, chucked him in and said, what do you remember last? Austin and The Rock and everything that comes with that, DX. What do you think of this? Oh dear. Like it's a big dip in quality, and I expected better from these women. And even Charlotte Flair wasn't, she didn't set the world on fire. I did like her calling Becky, #Becky pre-show. That was very amusing to me, but that was literally the highlight of the entire segment for me. And also, it took a long time to get to the point of just fucking set up the match.
Yep.
Here should have come out of me. They go, whoa, ladies, we haven't got time for this nonsense. It's WWE Draft night. If you want to settle your differences, you do it in the ring. This is the problem with Raw. I get that it's 3 hours, but you're making it worse by just elongating every single segment. It's like, okay, so we've got 3 hours, so we can take as long as we need. No, absolutely not. Afford more time to the high quality wrestlers or wrestling that you're going to have later in the night. For instance, their main event, I think it was like 12, 13 minutes long, could have been 20. And you could have saved yourself a lot of faffs here. So let's get into the draft picks for round 1, technically. They can call it round 1 all they want. Liv Morgan's on my screen, so that's very exciting, especially considering what she's wearing. Raw picks SmackDown Women's Champion Becky Lynch, as we know. SmackDown picks SmackDown Tag Team Champions, the Usos, the Hoy. Raw picks Bobby Lashley, the Hoy. And SmackDown picks Sasha Banks. Not exactly earth-shattering for the first round, is it?
No. It was it was so bad I missed it. Actually, I was putting my daughter to sleep. I came back and the first one that I saw, I actually wrote a note down afterwards. I'm like, wow, the first draft pick is happening at like 8:45. What's going on? No, I missed the first ones, and I really didn't miss anything because it was the obvious ones and nothing that changes anything.
These aren't drafts. These are reiterations of what we already know. Damien Priest successfully defended his United States title by countering. I'm getting a little bit annoyed with these finishes, and maybe it's because I'm a wrestler in my own right, loosely, obviously, but I am still, and I work shows. Jeff Hardy hits Damien Priest with a swanton. He then immediately crucifixes him into a pin and wins, therefore nullifying the idea that he's been hit with his finisher.
Yeah.
He's a bit dumb. Like, why would you have the wherewithal to roll him up when you've literally just had a 230-pound man drop all of his weight on you like that? Like, not only that, it's fucking Jeff Hardy versus Damien Priest. And I made this very clear on the last show that I do not want to see any more iterations of these cretins running around. Otherwise, I will literally have to remove one of my own testicles and force feed it to whoever creates Raw. I'm not going to do that because I still value my testes, even though I have absolutely no plans of repopulating this earth in any way with mini Arabs running around the place. But I will find someone else's testicles, probably Carl Wilkinson's, because I know he's not getting much use out of his, and I shall shove them down the mouth of said creative. I don't care. That's all I've got.
As you should know, that the match didn't need to happen. It didn't do anything as far as the match part of it was just there. The ending was horrible, and Priest looked like he just got up like nothing ever happened. He rolled him over, got up. Hey, I'm good. Cool. Thanks for no selling that.
Their idea of good storytelling and good TV is so stupid as well. This is another reason why Raw sucks. So, Jeff Hardy's just lost, albeit very, I could understand Jeff Hardy's character feeling like, I should have got that. I hit my finisher and I didn't win. So from that perspective, I understand. So in what world do we need to interview the guy who's just lost the United States title match, which De Hoy, of course he was, because he's going to SmackDown, as we fucking already know. So it's like, oh, Jeff, unlucky, but you're moving to SmackDown. let's move on for now already. You're what? Like, why are you interviewing in the first place? Then Austin Theory comes down. Now I like Austin Theory. He's immediately, I saw it. He had a phone in his hand. I thought he's going to ask him for a selfie. Like, you didn't even need to wait. You knew it was going to happen. He gets in. Now, he does his role very well. He's a fangirl and he gets his selfie. And then, of course, he blindsides Jeff Hardy and he gets another selfie and looks even more enthusiastic. And I think that's a good use of Austin Theory. Whether that will continue to be the case, that remains to be seen. I would give it about 3 or 4 weeks before he's chasing Akira Tozawa around in what can only be described as a very lilac tutu, most probably, because Vince McMahon is like, ha, men dressing as women is funny to me, ha ha ha, because it's 1952. It is what it is. I've still got this image of him when he turned around to Coachman and went, "What up, G?" It just never ever leaves my brain. So yeah, Austin Theory comes out. Great, whatever. Anything you want to add to that before I run down the next round of draft picks, sir?
I feel the same way with Austin Theory. Maybe he'll get to a point where he goes up to Reggie and just says, "Hey, let's get a selfie together," and rolls him up, takes the 24/7 title, and that's Austin Theory.
Yeah. Round 2 saw Raw pick Seth Rollins. No, these are all
Boy,
things
it's like
I've
you
caught.
called this.
Yeah, I do believe I had that one. SmackDown picks the Intercontinental Champion, Shinsuke Nakamura. He's the guy who used to be a good wrestler many moons ago in Japan. And Rick Boogs, who sucks massive donkey phallus. Raw also gets United States Champion Damien Priest. Who would have funked it? However, we don't have to worry about him facing Sheamus anytime soon because Sheamus has been picked for SmackDown. Thoughts on those draft picks?
Pretty normal on the rest of them. Seth Rollins, obviously, you had called the last time we had talked about everything, so perfect on that.
I didn't realize he was going to swear on the broadcast.
Right.
The highlight of Raw, from what I can tell, judging from social media.
Yeah, well, his social media before was questioning why other people were swearing at one point on NXT, so he was just going along with it. I'll give him that. The man is going with his role perfectly. Sheamus going to SmackDown. I just, so long as we don't see him face Drew McIntyre anymore, please, no more. Yeah, that's a thing.
Yeah, you just can't get away from it. I think Sheamus is a good hand. I think he's somebody who can get some good matches. He's a very good locker room guy. I hear that he's a bit of an arsehole backstage, that he's a bit of a bully, that he winds up certain people. Yeah, these are things I've heard multiple times. Obviously, you know, most of the people who have mentioned this have now been released by WWE, so you don't know whether there's an axe to grind.
Right.
But I don't care that much, with all due respect. I like Sheamus. I think he's a great worker. I like his mic work. I like his look as well. The old scally, obviously being so close to the proximity of Ireland, having Irish family and things of that nature around me on a regular basis and things like that. Having the chance to go over to Ireland reasonably regularly as well, it's fun. It's amusing, and you know the Irish are actually really proud of him as well, which I think is really cool. But it is what it is. And obviously Seth Rollins, you know, saying that he doesn't really give a shit. Kind of funny. It's like, good for you, Seth, because most people watching this don't give a shit, even my friends. Round 3 sees Raw retain AJ Styles and Omos, and I could not care about that. These, however, other 3 picks in round 3 are very exciting, or somewhat exciting. So SmackDown picked Shayna Baszler right after she had lightly love tap Doudrop in the back in an awful scene. What the fuck is this? So she's murdered 2 people. Okay. She's then planning to murder a third in Dana Brooke, which obviously Batista won't be very happy about. And then Doudrop comes down. So again, with the stupid storytelling, I get it. Doudrop's colourful. She's fun. Now, I know her as Piper Niven. Big fan of hers from NXT UK. And obviously, I've seen her personally wrestle so many times. Riptide, which is literally down the road from me in Brighton. You know, in what world is this woman is about to quite literally dissect and damage, pretty much like, you know, gang assault this woman. And she's like, oh, cool. What the fuck is that shit? That is fucking like, you know, with all, you know, sort of genuine generosity to all my homosexual friends, that is fucking gay. That's what that is. Okay, that's not good at all. It's so tacky. Shayna Baszler kind of says, okay, fair enough. Hits her in the back, and Doudrop goes, And Shayna Baszler goes, and just walks off. And like, what the fuck is that? She's a killer. She at one point she was ranked in the top 10 women in MMA in the world. She is now reduced to hitting a larger woman in what looks like a swimming costume, lightly on the back, and then walking away looking somewhat sexually aroused by the whole premise. Fucking hot AIDS is what that is.
Horrible. Garbage, but welcome to Raw. Welcome to Raw all the time. I love that Corey Graves actually called out the skipping. Boy, you want to come out here and help. Why are you skipping to the ring? Yeah, that's a good question. Please, can we ask the people in the back about this?
Yeah, whoever was in gorilla position and told her to go out like that, you should be fired. Because you suck. Kevin Owens to Raw from SmackDown and going the other way to, well, somewhat. Coming from NXT to SmackDown is Xia Lee, which I believe I also had. I believe I discussed this with Astrid actually on the State of Wrestling and Draft. I suggested Xia Lee, with the heat that she had in NXT, it was probably time to move on. This seemed like a good choice. I'm just seeing some new draft picks that are popping up. We'll discuss them at the end because they don't. They're all jobs. Just although it does look like they might have split up Natalia and Tamina, which is probably good for
that's fine. That's perfectly fine.
Yeah. So yeah, Kevin Owens. I mean, obviously, I'll ask you what you think in a moment. But Kevin Owens on Raw. Kevin Owens. We've mentioned the fact that he's pretty much getting buried because he's going to AEW, and then you see him going to Raw, and you think, oh, okay, maybe they're going to reset him. Maybe they're going to give him a run and try and convince him. Well, judging from what they had him doing first off, I don't think that's the case. Because he's welcomed by Akira Tozawa of the 24/7 division. And then he stuns Akira Tozawa for being a very small Japanese man and then gets on with his day. And during Raw talk, he threatened the Irish lad who does, Keith Patrick, I think his name is, he threatened him when he suggested that he shouldn't be stealing a metal thing from the ring. This is awful. What the fuck is all this stuff? Kevin Owens, whether you like him or not, he's legitimately one of the better workers in the world. He's one of the best mic workers in all of wrestling. And you have reduced him to this nonsense. Do you know what? If you want to bury him that much, I mean, I don't know. I suppose some people will make the argument it's better to have him on TV and make him look shit as opposed to just not having him on TV at all. But you're sacrificing the quality of your TV show to make a statement on this guy. And this is why people have walked away in their millions from the show. Because instead of doing the best you can with the people you have and setting yourself up with good stuff, like for instance, Daniel Bryan goes over to AEW and he says, I love my time with WWE. I love Vince McMahon because he was treated very well. And his last match was for the Universal Championship against the biggest drawing wrestler arguably in the world right now, Roman Reigns. Kevin Owens is going to walk out the door with probably a 1-7 record against a Cirque du Soleil performer. What the fuck off? It's so fucking annoying. This is a man who, you know, I don't blame Kevin Owens for wanting to go to AEW, but I'm not going to sit there and buy it for 1 second that overall he's going to find himself in a better position there. I think he might come in with a bit of luster, and then eventually he'll just be another prop and another guy for the Young Bucks or whoever to go over or use to help themselves get over more. And then he'll probably end up jobbing on AEW Dark to Orange Cassidy, and that'll be the end of the ballad of Kevin Owens until he's smart enough to go to somewhere like Ring of Honor or New Japan where he can work regularly and look like a megastar.
Right. Totally. 100% agree on all of that.
Who do you think Xia Lee's going to knock out first? Actually, or, you know, kayfabe.
With her and Baszler being there, maybe they will both knock each other out. That would be fantastic. I think they would both work great with anybody there. I think Xia Lee has been underutilized for being, I guess she's very young. She's very new into everything. She had just came out of pretty much just learning how to wrestle going into the Mae Young Classic. And I feel she's grown so much since. She looks amazing. She looks like $1 million out there. She is a fighter, and I love that part of it. Please give me more of that. Attention, Raw. I I want to see that type of person going out there and actually looking like a fighter, looking like a winner. You're out there to win. You're out there to fight each other and actually like win matches, not just go out there and kind of like jump and prance around.
Yeah, not much else to add to it. I look forward to seeing what Xia Lee can do. She'll be taken more seriously just because, well, you would think just because she's on SmackDown, but then we've also seen with Carmella and Liv Morgan that may not necessarily
That's
be
true.
the case. So
yeah, I actually thought that the SmackDown side of it was like, wow, they're pulling in Baszler and Xia Lee. They want to actually keep looking better.
Yeah, I mean, they've certainly brought in the correct talent. Whether they book them correctly remains to be seen. The men overall, I think, have been booked quite well on SmackDown. The women has been a case of, well, it's two sides really. If you're a big star, you get booked well, and if you're a mid-carder, well, you get booked in very boring, inadequate storylines.
Right.
Round 4 sees the Street Profits arrive at Raw.
Easy enough,
yeah. I believe I had that too. As most people with any brain should have, especially when, Bianca Belair tips up on Raw, because obviously husbands shall follow. And that seemed to be a big theme here, partners, which is, I thoroughly understand. You want to keep your staff happy. Everyone's acting like it's a big deal. It's like, oh, well, obviously Seth Rollins is going to Raw because Becky Lynch is over there, or Becky Lynch is going because of Seth Rollins. They've got a baby to look after. It doesn't seem like that much of a stretch to me. So Street Profits to Raw doesn't surprise me. So I thought, okay, tag team division looks pretty, not stacked, not that strong, but this injects something new into it. And then the Viking Raiders get shifted over, which is very strange to me, especially as their only use on this show was to intimidate the 24/7 champion. So probably they're very happy to go to SmackDown. Finn Balor comes over to Raw. This is arguably, in terms of working and pure wrestling, by far and away the best thing Raw has got out of this entire draft. Going the other way, someone who's talented, but nobody gives a flying fig about because he has the charisma of a walnut, is Ricochet. Speaking of flying figs, he's going to SmackDown. Whoop-de-doo, Basil. There's a lot to break down here, though, because obviously Raw gets a pickup in terms of tag teams, but then they take one of their really good working tag teams, albeit a pair of jobbers, really, and send them the other way when they're fully fit and good to go. Which is a bit of a strange decision. Therefore, loading up SmackDown, which now has the Usos, the New Day. We're going to talk about the tag team that they also picked up later down the line. That for me is a mistake, especially because of what happened with Zelina Vega being moved the other way. But SmackDown's tag team division looks like it's so much stronger, in every sense than Raw's is. What do you make of round 4?
Round 4 looked really good. I really kind of wish that the Street Profits had stayed and just bolstered. And I know I had that chat with you guys earlier. Yeah. Having something like a humongous 100% dominant tag team division on one side would have been really cool to see, while growing another tag team division on another one, giving like new opportunities to new teams, getting them in front of the audience, getting them in front of the crowds, and kind of growing and getting people to another level. I don't love when it's the constant trades, like Street Profits for New Day for Street Profits, which we've seen every year so far. I don't love seeing that. Viking Raiders going to SmackDown could be a great thing for them because they're just going to get seen in a new light. Same with Ricochet and same with Balor coming over to Raw. He comes off as the star that's needed for the show, period.
I think they missed a trick. Obviously, I was going for something a little bit wacky and out there, but I did say that they should keep the Demon on SmackDown and keep Finn Balor on Raw. Yeah. When they said like Finn Balor, and I was like, and then Boris Saxon, of course, who, to be honest, genuinely tends to ruin my enjoyment of most things. He then said like, and the Demon as well. And I was like, why do you need to say that? Like, the idea is this is supposed to be a fun, so obviously I'm joking about the idea.
Of course.
I'm sure somebody will be like, actually, I don't think that's physically plausible. Sure, Tanvir's having a little meltdown as we speak. I just don't think, this is the thing. You've just gone through all this incredible amount of detail to kind of get over the demon. And the fact that he can somehow regenerate in the biggest title match he's ever had. And, it's the first time he's lost and the broken ropes and it's a stupid angle and all this stuff. And then it's like, oh, yeah, Finn Balor's coming over, with a demon as well, because that's basically what he does on the side, yeah? Cheers, Byron, you fucking Egypt. He's awful. And I know most of it's fed to him. Byron Saxton's job is legitimately to present himself as a mark so that all the kids who are like, I like faces, they'll get behind Byron Saxton. Like, yeah, Byron Saxton's right. And Corey Graves is a big meanie. And it's like, shut up, man. It annoys me. I don't think Ricochet moving anywhere matters at this point. I think his career is.
Yeah, it may be nothing in the end, but I like that there's at least an opportunity.
Flippy man does flippy things. Round 5, Raw picks the Harbinger of Destruction, Karrion Kross. He's very annoying to me because for the last 3 years, Karrion Kross, you big fucking ape, I have been known as the Harbinger of Professional Wrestling. So get your own fucking gimmick, you sweaty ape. You fucking cretin, I swear to God. I'm just going to message Vince McMahon and go, you are dead. It's as simple as that. Although I'm not going to pick a fight with Karrion Kross because he will murder me. Although I'll give it a bloody good go. SmackDown picks up Humberto Carrillo and Angel Garza. It's good for them. It's bad for business. Very similar to the Viking Raiders to me, especially with Zelina Vega going the other way. You had a big opportunity here. By the way, they jobbed out Mustafa Ali and Mansoor in 2 minutes, and then this precipitated Big E interrupting their victory, which was even more stupid. It was like, yo, you lot don't matter. Fuck off. Here comes Big E. How can you hot shot this in at this speed when you've got a 3-hour show? Either you've got all the time in the world or you've got no time at all. I could have understand them doing this on a 1-hour show or a pre-tape or something, but on a 3-hour Raw where you're struggling to make people interested in your god-awful fucking storytelling, to have this was dumb. Then Big E comes down, and of course he just basically comes out and says, I am very colourful WWE champion Big E. I have a contender. Where is he? And then Drew McIntyre comes out and goes, there's no E, you bastard. And he comes down with his sword and he goes, I got a fucking sheep. All the Scottish stuff that I would expect. And apologies to all my Scottish friends, especially my mate mine, who actually does sound just like that and will kill me if I don't mention Iron Brew. And then he points his sword at him and he says, I love you and I respect you, but I want a match with you. And then comes 2 guys who will no doubt be on AEW Dark in a couple of years, Dolph Ziggler and Bobby Roode. And this gets very funny and very weird very quickly because they cut this. It's a weird promo. Like, basically Dolph Ziggler says, I helped you to get where you are. And a good callback, to be fair, using the footage, especially with Big E's. Although conveniently forgetting about that Drew McIntyre was the chosen one and that kind of shit canned itself. Because Drew McIntyre essentially has actually been kind of working around the same time as Dolph Ziggler in this company. So he's not a veteran over, Drew McIntyre at least. It gets a bit weird. He gets whingy. Then Bobby Roode gets a proper stiffy on. He's obviously had his glass of OJ and calls himself Big Bob. And then I get the line I never thought I'd ever hear, as I said on Twitter, when they're taking the piss out of him. I love Big E's reaction. Nobody calls you that. Not a single person. And immediately Dolph Ziggler's like, don't you disrespect Big Bob? It's like, what the fuck am I? It's funny, but it's also systematic of the problems with Raw because it's too stupid. And this is the WWE champion, and this ridiculously jacked up Highlander-like warrior. There could be only one, Drew McIntyre with his sword. By the way, again, the sword as well. If I'm suspending my disbelief, just chop his head off. Boom.
Oh, yeah.
Jobs are good in. You are now WWE champion. And if anyone says, well, I don't like what you just done, well, I'm sorry. Perhaps you didn't see the rolling head that just went past. You're fucking next, sunshine. Still infinitely better, however, in terms of promo than what we saw later on with Oldberg. So, then they have the Teddy Long special, they have their tag match, and of course the faces go over, and then at the end, they can't even get on the mic and announce it. They're going to face each other at Crown Jewel. This whole thing was a Sunday Night Heat Crown Jewel. They announced that. They announced the, I think they've already announced it, but they hyped up the women's triple threat. Crown Jewel actually looks like it could be quite good. It won't be presented very well, and obviously if you say it's bad, you might get a sheet cutting your head off, but it could be quite a good show. So yeah, there's all of that to kind of get into. But like I said, Humberto Carrillo and Angel Garza going to SmackDown. Alexa Bliss stays on Raw, and yeah, Cesaro stays on SmackDown because he's doing so well. By the way, Corey Graves on commentary saying that this has been a great year for Cesaro. Has it really?
One time
title match, and he's done nothing since.
No, that was just, that's not needed. Cesaro going to Raw would have been another Finn Balor type of move. That would have been great for him. Get him away from there. Please get him away from SmackDown.
Yeah. I actually think, in terms of all the errors here, this might be the worst. Because Cesaro is staying on SmackDown when they've just upgraded all these talent. They brought in a stacked tag team, which you've got to think is going to fill up a large amount of mid-card, like I said to you last time around. And then you've got the main event stuff. He's not going to go against Roman Reigns again because he's already tried that and lost. So his seeding really is going to be wrestling Ricochet on main event. Have fun with that. It's going to be one of those things where about 20 internet nerds go, the matches they had were very similar to the PWG classics from 2008. I do believe the pay-per-view was called Adam Coleslaw and the Bayonets. Whatever they call it. Stupid pay-per-views. Maybe spend less time hitting people who are transgender and more time thinking up better pay-per-view names. Huh? How about that? Also, take that stupid mask off, Excalibur. Get on my tits. Yeah, cretin. Round 6, Raw picks Carmella. Interesting.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, and then we get to, SmackDown keeps Sami Zayn, which further fuels the conspiracy theories. Kevin Owens to AEW, confirmed. And then 2 that really fascinating. Ridge Holland, my boy, British Beef himself, coming over from NXT. How well is he going to do being detached from Pete Dunne is the big question here, because Pete Dunne has kind of acted as if a vicious manager / gang leader, and he's the heavy, which I think works well. I think it would have been a really cool notion to bring Pete Dunne over as well. For me, the most underrated wrestler in the world. And anyone who doesn't think Pete Dunne can work, you are quite literally retarded, and I will fight you. And also, going straight to the main roster, Gable Steveson, not Stevenson, Steveson, which is obviously their very clever way of getting around the copyright. So you can just see it. Vince McMahon's like, so what are we going to do? Like, we need to own his name. I have got a great idea. Get the N out of here. I like removing N's as it is, if you know what I mean. Christ almighty. I've got flashbacks to when he went up to John Cena and said, keep it up, my ethnic gentleman. It's because that word will never be uttered at the Wrestle Park, I can assure you.
Thank God.
No. Thank God. Again, South Park episode as well when he shouts naggers. Yeah. Interesting. Carmella the Raw, I don't think she's going to move the needle enough for anyone to care.
No.
Ridge Holland could be good potential. I would align him with somebody very quickly if he's not going to have Pete Dunne with him, because I don't think he's ready to be on a singles run. Very physically looks great, and I really like his entrance. But I don't think the crowd will take to him too quickly. And from what I can tell, being British myself, it takes a while for British wrestlers to get over. You know, even someone like William Regal, he put a lot of work in. He had a lot of stock that he built out from WCW and runs of that nature. And then obviously, Sami Zayn, I don't care. He's another one who's going to get lost in the shuffle. Gable Steveson, what's his ceiling?
He infinite ceiling as far as I'm concerned. He's coming in with a blanker slate than anybody else, and he can really only go up. Even if he has a bad time, there's nothing but up from here. The only thing that might be a detractor from him is that he'll probably come in, that shining, cute baby face that's coming in because he's the Olympic athlete and hero and everything. That might be, bringing him in like The Rock, essentially. That initial Rocky Maivia point where everybody just kind of hated it, but people don't want to see that anymore. That might be the only thing that would be a detractor, but other than that, he has wide open range to go from here. Ridge Holland and Sami Zayn and Carmella, I don't think those are going to be huge. Carmella, I like being off of SmackDown. She actually mentioned before that she was the one that was there from the beginning of this whole thing. Like, she was on SmackDown and nowhere else. So her going to Raw is a rather unique thing. Zayn staying where he is, he's going to get lost in the shuffle anyways. And Ridge Holland, I'd like to say that he's going to come out here and be something better. I'm afraid he's going to end up being like one of Happy Corbin's minions.
Whoopee.
Yeah.
That's probably going to be the case, actually. What do you think about Gable Steveson as well, mocking the kind of college NFL draft picks scenario where he sat there with his parents and then he gets up and gives them this incredibly lukewarm hug where he's like, yeah, cool. It didn't look that infused whatsoever. And it looked like it was filmed on someone's iPhone that was propped up in the corner of the room against the
probably
Christmas.
was. It doesn't help anything. It doesn't, the draft thing on the NFL side, college, going to pros and anything, whether it's that, basketball, it's nice and cute and everything. And those worlds don't mix with the wrestling world well.
I think the hope is that my hope is they're going to make him legitimate, like a shooter, where the idea is a bit like when MVP came in, but without as much charisma, because he doesn't strike me as somebody. He might prove me wrong down the line. When Kurt Angle came in, everyone was like, this guy's not funny. And he immediately just rocketed to the moon with his charisma. He just got the business. My worry for Gable Steveson is if he hasn't got any charisma, how good is his wrestling going to be? We know great amateur wrestling. Can he capture what Brock Lesnar and Kurt Angle have done, or is he going to wind up being like Jason Jordan or Shelton Benjamin, who had very good success early on and is now a complete bitch? Speaking of Shelton Benjamin, we should mention it. Goldberg comes down and goes, and Bobby Lashley comes down and goes, shut up, you twat, because he's bored of it. And to be honest, at this point, I know he's 15, but I rather enjoy watching your son tap like a drunk man. Fuck me, that was awful. Goldberg's promo was terrible. Goldberg is terrible. Goldberg needs to not die. I think that's a bit drastic, but Goldberg needs to retire, preferably.
Just go away, go home, relax.
To the sun. It was, speaking of sons, well, hey, it was just horrible. It wasn't good. He should never have a live mic again. And then he's trying to be edgy. He's like, yeah, that's a license to kill. Yeah, against Bobby Lashley, who, okay, he hasn't fought the greatest, the cream of the crop, but he is fully trained in MMA and has fought in Bellator. He could rip your limbs off, you silly, sweaty, salty ball bag of a human being. Just be quiet. It's just a bit cringeworthy. Bobby Lashley, even his promo came across as like, why am I wrestling you? I was WWE champion a couple of weeks ago. Now I'm wrestling this buffoon again. This gigantic egg with a beard. Like, I just don't fucking care. This promo was bad. It was badly delivered. I felt sorry for Bobby Lashley. It was almost like he kind of had to, and then, of course, the Hurt Business, they try and get the jump on him and get murdered. By the way, Shelton Benjamin, right? Legitimately an NCAA champion, holds, I do believe, the distinction of being the only man to have beaten Brock Lesnar and in a completely undefeated career otherwise in amateur wrestling. First of all, he can't waist-like take down Goldberg. Second of all, you are jumping a very supposedly dangerous old man from behind, and your first instinct is to go, I shall challenge him to a bully wrestling match. What hell? What the fuck? Hit him round the back of the head with a fucking crowbar if he's that dangerous. Make an example of this prick. You're supposed to be the Hurt Business, not the I shall challenge you to a hammerlock business. That's not how that works. Idiots. They made him look even more buffoonish and stupid, and they just feel like cannon fodder for Lashley's experiment because they just don't know what else to do with them. And for me, it was a huge failure. And for me, also, bearing in mind this was supposed to be the big star power moment of Raw, it sucked. It absolutely sucked dick. And they'll face each other at Crown Jewel in a no-holds-barred match. And I'm sure a few sheiks with their feet up and their sandals will delight in such, I don't know, buggery, which is basically what these two are going to fucking perform in Saudi Arabia, which, as far as I know, in Saudi Arabia is probably illegal.
Yeah, nothing good is
Even
going to come
consent.
of this.
So,
It's going to be another match. It's just going to be another match we all forget afterwards and move on from.
yeah, I don't want to watch it. I just don't want to watch it. Yeah, there's a few things like, I kind of want to see Reigns versus Lesnar. Oh, well, not kind of. I do want to see Reigns versus Lesnar. The women's match should be quite interesting. Also, again, it's still a big deal, women wrestling in Saudi Arabia, so it's got that too. It's quite a big deal all around. In fact, anything that feels very main event worthy in a lot of different ways. But yeah, it's just Raw sucked. The draft, a lot of interesting choices. And also, how do you feel about the fact that it won't come into effect until after Crown Jewel?
I'm kind of okay with that. I don't mind it, especially on the NXT side. Like, we'll finish out some things on the NXT side. Obviously, there is a title that needs to be dropped at some point that hasn't been defended at all since getting obtained. It's not bad off of that. It's kind of a way to just finish off some narratives. Obviously, we're going to see some things transition once the draft picks are done and actually moved on to their places. But let's kill off the stories, finish them off, and just start with a fresh slate afterwards. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, some rather quick updates, some minimal shifts here in the draft that were announced on Raw Talk. Now, heading to Raw, we'll break these down very quickly. Tegan Knox, interesting, probably the most intriguing one here. Mia Yim.
Well then.
The Miz, Liv Morgan, heading to Raw. Her Business now Raw. Tamina stays, well, sort of on Raw. Dana Brooke. The Dirty Dogs are also heading to Raw, which probably is good for their tag team division because it's a little bit light on the it's very thin on the ground, if you ask me. Jackson Riker stays on Raw, and I'm sure everyone's thrilled about that. And Veer, who is the face painted member of the Jinder Mahal faction, which is awful.
Well then,
those are all coming to or staying on Raw. Any thoughts of anything there, or do you even
curious on this Tegan Knox part of it? Oh wait, I'm looking at everything too, because wow, yeah, Tegan Knox by herself is going there. That is an interesting part of this.
Yeah, Shotzi stays on SmackDown. Obviously, only four announcements for supplemental, so to speak, on SmackDown. Jinder Mahal, Shanky, and Natalia, which means that Tamina and Natalia are no longer a thing, and well, I'm sure we're all going to weep tears of sorrow over that.
Yeah.
I can hear Astrid from here. I like all the women's wrestlers. No, no. Tamina and Natalia. So, by the way, do you know what? This is going to offend people, so skip forward about 20 seconds if you're easily offended. When Corey Grace has the nerve to announce that nobody is meaner than Tamina, I don't think that's really true, considering what her father used to get up to. So, I mean, dark side of the ring, fam. I'm just saying.
Right.
Those are people who need to step aside because they're just not doing anything for this business. But I'm sure if they turned up in AEW, people would lose their minds over them. So, but yeah, those are these supplementals, and frankly, they all suck. Tegan Knox being on Raw is, I'd like to think that would be exciting if they can use her, but her on her own, when she's already not great in terms of character, she's just a good worker. And by the way, I knew Nixon Newell reasonably well when she was in the UK scene. I got to see her a lot of times live and in person, front row and all that sort of stuff. And she was an adorable, bubbly woman. And, she's a real kind of heartbeat of a locker room. But she's not going to move the needle on Raw because she won't be given the opportunity, especially when you've got, can you see Becky Lynch doing the job for Tegan Knox, who, by the way, was on Raw's main event commentary and sucked absolute Seth Phallus, which is what she's supposed to do, I suppose. But if if you believe in that, I mean, ultimately, Seth sucked her Phallus, really, because she's the man, but he's too busy telling people that he doesn't give a shit. So she's on commentary. The main event is Charlotte Flair versus Bianca Belair. which was okay, probably
It was
better than
okay.
I think it was better than the Bianca Belair Sasha Banks main event that we got on
Mhm.
SmackDown, but it was rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
SmackDown. I think it's lazy. I think it's poor. I think they were relying on people just tuning in for the draft, and they completely shit canned and made a mockery of what little wrestling they had. Oh, by the way, Orton also kind of made a bit of an arse of Omos and Styles, and they're going to defend their tag titles against them again in another rematch in Saudi Arabia. And the Saudi Arabians will probably lose their tits over Omos, but fuck off. I don't want to see that either. Tedious.
This Raw was horrible. It was so bad.
This
was
right back chore. To being fucking AIDS again.
Yeah, it was bad. It was a chore to sit through. Most of the time I was kind of just walking around and doing other things and looking at my phone and look back up and okay, some cool things are happening a little bit. They're okay. All right, I'm gonna go back to the phone again and do this. And it was not a good Raw in the least bit. They knew they were going to get people to watch because of the draft and just left it at that.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting draft picks. I'm excited to see how some of these teams that, Street Profits on Raw get the tag belts on them fairly quickly. New Day, by the way, like Xavier Woods going ballistic at the camera, screaming, "Crown me," because he finally gets his opportunity to get a ring. One of the highlights of the show. But that tells you everything you need to know about Raw when the highlights of the show are Bobby Roode pronouncing himself as Big Bob, and and by the way, Becky Lynch, for some reason, coming out like she had devoured an entire packet of licorice all sorts at the end. No idea what that's all about either. Like, I don't get that. Someone might know the reference. Please feel free to educate me. I thought she looked fucking ridiculous. Then she spends the entire time on commentary, right? See, this is what annoys me. So everyone's arguing me on the internet. Oh, fucking Becky's a huge star. Everyone's cheering for her. I was like, they're cheering for her in the same way I think they cheered for CM Punk back in 2011, 2012, because there was just nothing else going on. They needed a hero to attach themselves to. She comes out on promos. She does all these dirt sheet interviews saying how proud she is that she wants to have a heel run and I'm going to be a heel and I'm not interested in entertaining the fans. And then literally spends the whole time being a face on commentary. She chastises Byron Saxon, rightfully so, for critiquing her, suggesting that he's critiquing her for having a kid and taking time off for that, which doesn't make her come across as a heel whatsoever unless you are still stuck in the 30s and you believe women should be allowed to drive. The whole thing stinks. I think she sucks. I think she really sucks. I think her wrestling's gotten better, and ironically, her character's got even fucking worse. But people are going to gobble it up because they're so desperate for anything that might somewhat resemble Stone Cold Steve Austin. And newsflash, this is a horrible, shitty cosplay of Stone Cold Steve Austin. The man thing is massively overdone now. Doesn't make sense. Didn't make sense in the first place. I get it. I get what the premise is. She's trying to insinuate that she could be just as strong and the labels don't. I think that's quite a cool idea, but they just haven't executed it very well.
It was totally great at first, like I said earlier. At the time, it was needed, and it came off perfect because of how well they used her even before that. They had her go on a winning streak. They legit on TV winning streak. Lose out a title match opportunity when Charlotte kind of swooped in and just stole it in a triple threat. And that gave reason for people to cheer for her, even though like they were trying to push her as a heel at the time. It gave people the reason to get behind her. Like, hey, we're tired of you getting crapped on. You get your comeuppance. You get out there and do what you need to. You're aggressive. We love this. Okay, now we got to see that. Now, where do you go from there? You've already gotten the comeuppance. You've already gotten what you wanted out of it. Her going as a heel now, it doesn't seem natural almost. Like, none of it feels legit. Whereas Seth Rollins, like, side of it, him coming out and switching from face to heel all of a sudden, cool. Like, he had reasons. Things were bringing him down. She's coming out from having a kid, and all of a sudden she's just evil? Okay, I am sure.
Yeah, just she's gone to Vince and said, "I want to play heel," and he's like, "Sure, you're my money maker, do whatever you want." But it, like you say, it makes no sense. At what point should I believe she's a heel? She should have come back and sort of said, like, becoming a mother has sort of made me a different kind of person. You'll know as a parent yourself, it changes you as a human being. And, you know, she could have really played up to that. Not too much, obviously, because you don't want to overexpose your own child, or, you know, especially with the way fucking wrestling fans behave. But,
oh, God, yeah.
you know, ourselves included, at times, or at least myself. Because to be fair, if you're thinking, fuck me, Aaron Nix is a bit spicy this evening, isn't he, the little bastard? It's because it's 5 in the fucking morning. I just watched 3 hours of AIDS. Literally.
Yeah.
Like, just fucking watching 3 hours of Raw is tantamount to how those people in Squid Game feel when that fucking weird ass fucking hide and seek thing goes off. So if you imagine feeling like that, but for 3 hours, like all that anxiety and dreads, that's what that was. Oh, what a piece of shit that show was. I would have preferred it if they'd gone, welcome to WWE Raw. Here's all the draft picks in a row. Don't bother watching the rest of it. It's shite. Cool. Cheers. I'm off the bed. Bye. Waste of time. Raw is fucking shit again, which is really disappointing because the last 3 or 4 Raws have been excellent, or at least adequate.
Yeah.
I didn't even get to see sexy bondage time Karrion Kross come out, and he's, you know, fucking, I don't know, demolition gimp gear and try and finger some poor young unsuspecting man, or I don't know, fucking scream some sort of weirdly sexual military like fucking dialogue at Jackson Riker. I mean, it just, there was nothing there. It wasn't even amusing. Where the fuck was Keith Lee? You could have rolled him out and had a 20-minute match and really got over the fact that, yeah, it's Bearcat Lee's here. You know, everything that was there in terms of wrestling, like, you know, I would have been very much excited to see Mansoor and Ali, my boys, the Middle Eastern connection, taking on fucking Gaza and Carrillo, and that was 2 minutes.
Yeah.
What's the point of having these talents on your show? If you're only going to give them 2 minutes, why bother giving them any time at all? Just have them backstage fucking wanking each other off and talking about how hot they are, while Corey Graves rather amusingly fucking makes sexual references about them on TV. Like, awful. Any final thoughts, mate, on what you saw in terms of the draft itself, though, and what you hope to see coming out of it going forward?
Draft was fun. Draft is fun every year. I mean, there's really no two ways about that. It's always going to be something that people are going to look at and hope for great things and kind of have like, oh, this is going to be cool to see, and glad this person moved, and wow, we got the New Day and the Street Profits switching again with each other. This time they didn't trade titles. I hope that Finn Balor gets a huge push out of this. After seeing what he's done, seeing how great he looked with Roman, seeing how great he was on NXT before the callback, I hope he's the one that comes out the biggest out of it on the Raw side. I don't know on the SmackDown side. I feel like SmackDown's so good already that everybody that they're bringing over is kind of just like adding into the mix, but it could be good as far as just keeping a great, like, solid line going.
Yeah, I mean, my overall thoughts of the draft are I look forward to SmackDown's tag team division. I very much look forward to seeing what these mid-carders are going to do on Raw. You know, Kevin Owens, Finn Balor, looking at you boys. Hopefully you do well. Looking at Street Profits as well. Excited to see what they do. And in terms of surprises, I think Hit Row, Xia Lee, and Ridge Holland have an opportunity to really do something special. Hopefully Shayna Baszler is going to be the Dark Destroyer in waiting on SmackDown, and she's going to eventually dethrone whoever's champion in the next couple of months. This is the problem when you slap this nonsensical Saudi bullshit right in the middle. Now, I remember Steve years ago on this podcast, if anyone wants to go back and put themselves through the unnecessary pain of listening to me and Steve talk ad nauseum about when they started promoting it, they would hijack their schedule to show off these Saudi shows. And then all of a sudden they have like a week or two at max to then build to the next pay-per-view, which nobody gave a flying fig about. I think, dare I say, it might be Hell in a Cell. Or I might have got that wrong. I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, I'm not totally sure, because I think we did Hell in a Cell this year already,
or
right?
TLC.
TLC sounds more right. Obviously, Survivor Series would be coming up too, though.
Yeah, Survivor Series is normally early November. So, and then they have, I don't know, they might have Battleground in there or something.
Great Balls of Fire.
Great Balls of Fire back, please. I really enjoyed that. That was really good. Brock Lesnar versus Samoa Joe was fucking fire for 10 minutes. We had the ambulance match with Braun Strowman and Roman Reigns, which was sick. Not to mention, who can forget the classic that was Brian Myers as Kurt Hawkins versus Heath Slater, that went on in the middle of the ambulance match while they disappeared off site for a while. So random. And even they would put on a better wrestling match than half the shit I saw tonight. So yeah, no,
totally.
I am tired and pissed off, sufficiently pissed off enough that I'm going to murder somebody when I do arise from my slumber in probably 4 or 5 hours. So yeah, Mr. Choco Gaming, thank you very much for joining us. Quickly plug your socials again, mate. Let us know what games you're getting into this week.
Yeah, totally. On the Instagram side of things, at Choco Gaming. On the Twitter side, just at ChokeGoat. This week, I've been trying to get more creepier games in just because Halloween's coming up and everything. I know I did Resident Evil 6 last night. Was kind of good to get back into that for a little bit. I've already played through and beaten that game. That was fun, like co-op side anyways, to go through and play. I'm going to try to find some more Halloween type ones. I did a bunch last year, so I've already got some axed off the list, but I've got a few for the Genesis that'll be coming up and probably on the Dreamcast too. Outside of that, just getting in my normal daily game, whatever it may be. A lot of days it's just, what do I want to grab off the shelf today? I'll just grab this and go with it.
Yeah, so it's a fun concept, and for anyone who checks out his Instagram, especially, it's very cool. And you know, I've noticed you're getting quite a lot of engagement with random games that people may have never heard of before. I noticed you had Carol Vorderman's Countdown, which was like, Carol Vorderman is a British institution, but nobody in America knows who the fuck that is, and I think that's really funny. Like, she is. I'm trying to work out who I could equate Carol Vorderman to in America. She would kind of be a little bit like one of the Dynasty women, like in the sense of like, you know, everyone in America knows them. Some people who are a bit older might harbor some sort of old school crush for them. Like, Carol Vorderman is renowned for being quite fit, despite the fact that she's rapidly approaching her 70s. And like, she's still got a cracking pair of, as one of my friends Rob would say, bazongas. He's a cretin, is what he is. You know, like, it's just a weird concept, but it's very cool. I saw you had the Olsen twins, one of their games up the other day.
That was, yeah. I'm going to try to do it every October 1st, just because, we're entering Halloween season. We got to have a spooky game. And I'm probably just going to play some shit game just to show that those are very scary too. So last year, I know I did Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen's Crush Course. This year, I did Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen's Sweet 16 License to Drive, which was actually like a Mario Party type clone. And it was so bad. I've actually played that game with friends before, just on a night of like, hey, let's play this and see how bad this really is. We went 3 hours into the game and never completed it. I don't know what you have to do to complete it, but we were just like, all right, we're done. This has been going on forever.
Yeah, and in the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, Aeron X Design, if you want to get hold of me, if you can believe it or not, I'm a highly professional videographer for wrestling, and you wouldn't think so with the way I behave on this fucking podcast. And frankly, if half my employers watch this, they probably wouldn't employ me. But it's one of those things. I do work incredibly hard. So if you want graphic design, videography, things of that nature, editing and all that sort of stuff, I offer an incredibly affordable price point to everyone involved in the wrestling business, and I also offer a discount for anyone that I've worked with personally on shows, wrestler-wise and stuff like that. I believe that content should be affordable and should be available to all wrestlers of the independent scene, particularly in Britain, which has taken enough hits as it is. As far as video gaming goes, I am still working my way through Mass Effect Andromeda, trying to vaguely complete it this time around because I was so disappointed with it the first time around, but it's actually been a really enjoyable experience. And then I'm going to work my way over to Marvel Avengers on Game Pass, which is now available, as I said, via Game Pass. So I'm hoping that that will provide some sort of entertainment because it's free, and I was absolutely adamant I was not going to pay $60, 45 pounds British sterling to basically play a load of melts and the most overrated superhero of all time, Spider-Man. have it. Yeah, we'll leave it there, ladies and gentlemen. So don't forget to check out at Choco Gaming. Don't forget to check me out, Aeron Design. Don't send me hate mail, because if you do, I will not only out you, but then I will also, and I don't mean like sexually, I will just out you in terms of your, abuse of it. I don't care how you self-identify in that regard. I'll just kick your fucking head in. It's as simple as that, really. But yeah, check me out on that. Check out WrestlePlug, obviously, on all social media platforms. Always got something going on. Facebook pages, a lot of fun. Loads of old school wrestling highlight stuff from AWA and things of that nature, which I'll try and throw on there. For some reason, we seem to be building a very big demographic of old school wrestling fans who do not want to see anything from the modern era, which is thoroughly understandable. A lot of people like the old days. But from Choco Gaming and myself, Aeron X, thank you very much for watching, and we will catch you very soon for more content from the WrestlePlug, most likely this Thursday for the State of Wrestling address. In fact, no, it'll be Friday, where I believe Gomer will be returning to make his full audio podcast debut.